As we mentioned earlier on, the Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula has released the preliminary road fatality statistics for the festive season, which show that 690 people have so far died due to car accidents. Mbalula said the fatalities of 690 were recorded between December 1 and 20. This is a decline of 5.7% from the same period last year. He says it's noteworthy that 6 provinces recorded a decline in fatalities. To speak more about this, we on the video chat to a spokesperson, Layton Beard. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us, Layton. Let's start with those 6 provinces that recorded a decline in fatalities, among them Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Is this surprising to you?
Hi, Sophia. No, I don't think it's surprising at all. I think we expected traffic volumes to be lower this year than they were last year. I don't think that it's a surprise that we are seeing fewer crashes in provinces or fatalities for that matter. I think there are very many people who have decided not to go on holiday or are deciding just to stay indoors over this period. So I think that we expected that the numbers would certainly be down this year than they were on the previous years.
And it's interesting that context that you give us. So with that in mind, those 3 provinces that recorded an increase in the number of fatalities compared to the same period last year. So we're looking at the Eastern Cape and Limpopo. Is it really an increase, as you said, given the fact that the number of people on the roads are lower? And do you think also that these provinces, the increase, it has a lot to do with people's homegoing?
No, you make a very good point. And I think one of the things that we obviously would like to see is the final figures. And those are provided sometime early next year. You have to bear in mind that these figures are preliminary for a reason. Now, there may be people involved in crashes who are seriously injured, who may only succumb to those injuries later on, and those numbers will be added to the fatality statistics. So we obviously have to wait and see what those final figures are. I think what is of more concern to us, Tsepiso, is that even though we may have a 5% dip in the number of crashes and or fatality statistics, it's worrying that these numbers are still as high as they are, especially in the context of the government's own target of achieving a 20% reduction annually and over this period. And in terms of government being a signatory to the 50 by 30 campaign, which is to halve fatalities by 2030. And if we carry on the current trajectory in terms of road fatalities, there is no way we are going to achieve that decrease, which is something that I think we need to work together to as a nation.
And let's look at the target that the department has set itself. The minister acknowledged that they are a long way off from achieving that 20% target for reducing road deaths. What is the biggest challenge that they're facing in achieving this?
Well, we know that the most important factor in terms of crashes and fatalities is human behavior, the human factor. Up to 95% of all fatalities are a result of the human factor. Now, this is people who are overtaking on a solid white line or driving in the yellow lane or not focusing on the road by being distracted by electronic devices or people not wearing their seatbelts while they're driving. So these are factors that can be affected through change to be different going forward. I think when you look at road safety, there isn't one simple answer to say, well, flick the switch on that and everything is going to be okay. What we need is an intensive and ongoing year-round education program, beginning with children in schools, campaigns that raise awareness amongst adults. So we need education. We need proper law enforcement. The Traffic Law Enforcement Review Committee has indicated, for instance, we need double the amount of traffic law enforcers on our road. And that's something that we would like to see happen. And we need proper prosecution of offenders. So those are 3 big areas that need specific attention. And until we focus on those 3 areas and get those 3 areas right, we are not going to reduce the fatality numbers on our roads.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are on law enforcement. Do we have enough officers on the roads? Because I find that there's certain spots that, you'll always see drivers driving recklessly, and they seem to be unmanned. driving on a Saturday night, which unfortunately for a lot of us is coming back from work, it's such a terrifying experience. People are obviously drunk, but they're speeding and you know, driving between lanes. Are there enough police out there on the road?
The simple answer is no, and that's not even an answer coming from the Automobile Association. That is from experts that were commissioned by the previous Minister of Transport, and they sat down and reviewed the current traffic law enforcement environment, and one of their recommendations was we need double the amount of traffic law enforcers. So I think we acknowledge the Minister of Transport's efforts for his Wire campaign, where he wants to make sure that we've got traffic law enforcement 24/7 on the roads. And that's something to be commended, and we certainly support that initiative. But you can only do so much with the resources that you're given. And if we are to look at effective traffic law enforcement, we certainly need more law enforcers on the road. And the point you make, Tsepiso, is extremely important. We see very many traffic officers on the side of the road checking for expired license discs or checking for expired driving licenses, when in fact what we need are motor vehicles on the road checking for moving violations, people who are not obeying the rules of the road. So in other words, we need many more traffic law enforcers, and not sitting stationary on the side of the road, but actually moving along with the traffic to determine those offenders who are committing moving violations. And I think it's a very important point you raise. Traffic law enforcement is absolutely key to road safety, and I'm not sure that at this stage we have enough officers to actually do that.
Layton, thank you so much for speaking to us. AA spokesperson Layton Beard.